Nice. Alrighty, so I love that you changed the backgrounds too, man. Bring me to exotic location. It's cool because it's like you never really take me anywhere normally. So this is as close of a setting as we're gonna get, I guess. It's rude. Yeah, this is like a little date. Yeah, good. Maybe you can have a whitewater rafting, have a cute little camping endeavor afterwards. Who knows? So here we go. All right, let's dive in. All right, guys. For now, don't forget in the section on activity-based costing, ABC. Okay. Again, we don't know what questions are going to be on the final exam, so we're being as sort of broad and comprehensive as is possible. So here we go. It says, Golden Shower Incorporated, who makes bathroom accessories, sinks, tiles, etc., uses activity-based costing. They have determined the following activities and corresponding cost drivers associated with making two of their popular faucets. We have what's called Standard and Premier. Okay, so we have different activities as well as the corresponding drivers. Okay, we have materials handling, product development, as well as power. Okay, it says information gathered over the past month is as follows. Okay, so we have apparently different cost drivers and of course the associated costs with each one of these things. Now, the questions that will then follow on the exam will be such as how much of the cost should be allocated here? How much of the cost should be allocated there? Again, think about this as like when you have your utility bill with your roommate, right? You and him both use different amounts of water, we'll say, each week, each month. Okay, you take really quick showers and he has a fucking 200-gallon jacuzzi in his room. Okay, so obviously the cost will be different. Okay, but then again, he gets bitches and you don't. How's that feel? So either way, let's go here now, right? We're going to line these up. We're going to say, okay, this is activity 1, this is activity 2, this is activity 3. We have materials handling, product development, and power. And I want you guys to line those up or correlate those perfectly with direct materials, design notices, and kilowatt hours, respectively. Okay? So, similar to that then, we go here and we say, all right, well, we sure as heck better get the what? Good. We need to, and again, mine's a little crammed here, okay, but we need to get the cost per unit. So I'm going to get, for direct materials, guys, I'm going to get direct materials, the total, okay? So I'm going to have to write this down here. You can probably write it on your paper, but I'm going to have to write it down here. So for the total for direct materials is what? 100 ounces, right? The total for design notices is 12. And the total for kilowatt hours is 16 plus 24, which is 40. Okay, 16 plus 24, which is 40. Okay, so now what we have to do is figure out the cost per. Right? So we'd say, okay, see, and you got to line these up too. Direct materials and materials handling are, in essence, you can almost think about them as like the same thing. Okay, so the cost per is going to be $200 divided by the 100, or it's going to be $2 per. Do we all see that? $2 in this case per ounce for materials handling. Similarly, for design notices, we'd say what? Well, let's see. There were 540 was the cost. 540 divided by the 12. So 540 over 12 gives you $45 per design notice change. Okay? And lastly, we know it's going to be $160 over 40. So apparently it's $40 per kilowatt hour. Okay? And now that's good. We do all that foreplay so we can get the answer correct. You see, in doing this, what we actually do is we say, okay, well, let's take a look-see. All right? Apparently it costs $2 per ounce for direct materials, okay, and by way of materials handling. It costs $45 per design notice, which is the product development cost. And lastly, it costs $40 per kilowatt hour, right, which would be the power costs. All right? So when this question does say, how much of the product development costs, guys, how much of the product development costs should be allocated to Premier faucets? Well, let's see. We know the product development cost, that's number 2, which correlates to number 2, design change notices. Make sense? So we know that the second cost, which is design change notices, is what? $45 per. Well, the question wants to know how many should go to Premier faucets, okay? Well, Premier faucets apparently incurred 9 design change notices. Make sense? 9 design change notices. So here, if that's the case, you'd say, okay, 9 of those at $45 each. The cost must be 9 times 45. Makes sense? Okay? So it's simple. See, all this is meant to do is to get the foreplay going, right? You got to do all this work to figure out, okay, we're going to total up all the in this case, all the direct materials, the design notices, and kilowatt hours, and then figure out what is the cost per unit once you get all the total cost. Again, you think about it this way. The bill came in for design change notices, and it was $540. And we say, well, it's not fair for each of these people, so to speak, to pay equal amounts because this guy only used 3, but this guy used 9. So we figure out the price of the bill to give them, in essence, by just saying, well, we're going to take the $45 per that it normally costs times the 9 you used, and we're going to get $405. Now, here's the thing. And by the way, are you okay that there are an infinite number of permutations of questions at this point? They're all really simple. I could say, how much of the, I don't know, materials handling costs should go to Premier Faucets? And you would say, well, if you ask for materials handling for the faucets, I would do materials handling for Premier Faucets. I'd say, well, that'd be $2 each for materials handling times 60 ounces, so 60 times 2, or it'd be a bill of $120. You see, the only other sort of layer of complexity to these questions might be something like, how much of the overall indirect manufacturing costs should be allocated to standard faucets? In other words, what's their bill period? Well, if that's the case, then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, let's just clump all these together. Let's focus on standard faucets for 1 second, right? And let's just plow through it. So we say, okay, the standard faucets use 40 ounces of direct materials at a cost of $2 each. So we're going to say it's going to be $2 each times 40 bucks. Okay? Plus, it's going to be $45 each times the 3 design change notices they incurred. Make sense? Plus, it's going to be $40 each times the 16 hours that they happen to use. Make sense? So now if we just do 2 times 40 plus, plus 45 times 3 plus 40 times 16. Was that right? There's the answer there. Let's see. How much should be allocated to standard faucets? Let me see. 40 ounces times $2 each, plus $45 times 3, plus 40 times 16. Whoops! There's one small mistake. I was like, I knew this wasn't right. Sorry. You guys can catch that? I'm so smart. It's not $40. Obviously, it's $4. That didn't matter until just now. Okay, cool. I was like, something's gone awry there. There it is. My mistake. So let's go back through here. That doesn't affect the previous question, but that does affect this one. So this should be $4 times 16, right, guys? $4 times 16. There we go. Which gives you $279. Sorry about that, okay? So let's recap, make sure you guys get the basic idea for these. When you get asked questions that deal with what? The key words in the question that you should be like going to this information is, okay? They use activity-based costing, okay? When using activity-based costing, all you do is you just throw together how much shit was used under each respective activity. Then figure out the cost per unit, okay, or per whatever it happens to be in the example, and then just go ahead and reallocate it accordingly, making sure to correlate the activity with its corresponding cost driver every single time. They could ask questions just about one thing, how much of this particular type of cost can be attributed to this particular thing we make, or could just say, shit, how much of all the overall costs should be allocated to this other thing we happen to make, okay? Again, 1 or 2 questions like that in the exam at most, but I want to make sure that those 1 or 2 that you get right. Okay? Good? Good. You ready? We'll see you in a little bit.